All right, episode 100, Rob.
Woohoo!
We did it.
We made it.
We made it. There we go. That's some excitement. I can feel it.
I know.
I can feel the excitement. It's a party atmosphere.
It's palpable.
There's confetti flying in the air.
That's right.
Super exciting, you know. Can you believe we've done 100 of these things?
No, it's kind of hard to believe.
I don't even remember when we started. It feels like we've always done this.
It's old hat at this point. It is old hat, as they say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, truth be told, there's a lot of in the hallway chit chats that probably could have been podcasts for the last 15 years anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think about it in terms of like learning something new that has turned into a habit almost. What?
I see what you did there.
What?
I see what you did there. Yeah, we had joked about on previous pods that our 100 would be, hey, let's catch all of our errors. But I feel like that's too much work to go back and listen.
There weren't any.
Sure, there weren't.
We checked and there weren't any.
Yeah, well said, well played. So I think, you know, yeah, today I thought it might be fun for us to, on a triple digit podcast, talk about maybe a little bit about, it's a little bit of everything, whatever we want, but like how we got here. And I think part of that, to your point, is habits. You know what I mean? Like, how do we keep doing the same thing that we're doing, but still be awesome and creative and all for different clients, right? Day in, day out, year after year, forever.
Forever.
I know. You know, well, part of that is I think, you know, developing, fostering, and maintaining positive habits, right? Be it whatever those are in life. I mean, maybe even outside of work too. You know what I mean?
Like relationships.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay.
Social life.
Yeah. Cleanliness,
healthy living, all those good things.
Yeah.
Good habits, bad habits.
Yeah. Blue zones, right? We were talking about those earlier today.
Oh yeah.
You know, so, I think I made a little list. Most of my stuff is about work, to be honest. So,
yeah.
But I think what started it was we've got, and I know that we talked about this book before in the past, but there's a great Rick Rubin book called, The Creative Act, A Way of Being, right? That's fun little essays and fun little sort of snippets or whatever. And he's got a little ditty here on habits. So
let's hear it.
I'm going to do a bad job of reading this, but I'm going to give it my best, and we're going to go from there. Right? All right. This is, well, actually, I'm going to read it, and then we'll discuss who it's by. How about that? Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. The first thing, here we go. The first thing I would show players at our initial day of training was how to take a little extra time putting on their shoes and socks properly. Shoes and socks. The most important part of your equipment is your shoes and socks. You play on a hard floor, so you must have shoes that fit right, and you must not permit your socks to have wrinkles around the little toe, where you generally get blisters, or around the heel. This is interesting, right? Shoes and socks. I showed my players how I want them to do it. Hold up the sock. Work it around the little toe area and the heel area so there are no wrinkles. And this is a lot of information about shoes and socks. Smooth it out good, he says. Then hold the sock up while you put the shoe on, and the shoe must be spread apart, not just pulled on the top laces. Okay? It keeps going.
So flare it. You're
gonna flare it out. Flare it out. It keeps going, Rob. You tighten it up snugly by each eyelet, then you tie it. Then you double tie it so it won't come undone, because I don't want shoes coming untied during practice or during the game. I don't want that to happen.
No,
he says. That's just a little detail that coaches must take advantage of, because it's the little details that make the big things come about, right? And the sentiments above are John Wooden. John Wooden, you know, the most successful basketball, you know, coach in the history of college basketball. You know, he won more consecutive games and championships than any others in history, right? But Rick Rubin, who I would consider a very creative individual, has an interesting little side note here that says it must have been frustrating for elite athletes who just want to get on the court and show what they want to do to arrive at practice, and have this legendary coach basically
tell them how to tie their shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Not only that, but like, here's how to put on your sock.
Yeah,
you know, like that's
this little
thing,
piggy
right?
does. Yeah,
but I think, and this is what spurred, I think, today's thought, right? The point Wooden was making was that creating effective habits down to the smallest detail is what makes the difference between winning and losing games, right? So, I mean, of course you have to hit the shot. Of course you have to pass and dribble and know the rules. You have to know the understanding of the arena that you're in and things like that. But we are talking about the wrinkles or lack thereof of your socks in your shoes, right? And it's hard to argue with success.
Hard to argue with it.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I can keep going. This is interesting about habits and whatever. But I think the point is, good habits create good art, right? Good habits can create good strategy, right? I mean, in a strange way, allow me to speak out of both sides of my mouth for a minute. Like, nothing we do is step and repeat, right? Every client has a different need. Every client sells something different, be it a product or a service or whatever, right? I mean, everything we do is custom for everyone that we work with.
Correct.
Right? There's no like, oh, I designed this logo for this guy over here. Let me sell it 1,000 more times. Like it's not how it works.
Right.
So there's something interesting about every single thing we do is custom, but the habits and maybe the methodology, the strategery, right, of how we get to those, custom solutions kind of is a little bit of a step and repeat, right? I mean, we have the dance that we do of how we take clients through certain projects or through the experiences, I guess, right?
Yep.
To get to the end result, right?
Yep.
So, I don't know, thoughts. What do you I just read a whole bunch of,
No, I was thinking, I mean, it makes great sense. And it's also too, with regards to that specific example, if your socks are on properly and your shoes fit properly, you don't ever have to worry about it.
Yeah,
and the last thing that you want to be worried about when you're in the NBA and playing is, oh, my foot hurts or whatever else.
Exactly.
Focus. So I like that. And I agree. I think that, and habits can be small like that, but impactful at the same time.
Yeah.
I was thinking through some of my habits, right? And they kind of start with, from a work perspective, the work day, my morning,
the routine,
the ritual.
Yeah.
And it seems simple, but the habit is wake up, make the cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Get ready, say hey to the kids.
Now just to play devil's advocate, that didn't used to be. We've talked about this. That didn't used to be part of the habit, right? Which is interesting. So habits we were allowed to change. Of course,
we're allowed to change. We're allowed to pick up new habits.
Yeah. But hey, it's get the coffee going.
Get the coffee going.
Yeah.
Talk to the kids. Hang out. Prep everybody for the day. Pump everybody up. Kiss my lovely wife. Throw the dog in the car and head out.
Yeah.
And then when I get here in the office, habits the same.
Yeah.
Get the lights going, get the coffee machine going, make my second cup of coffee for the morning.
Yeah, that's okay.
Sit down. And I like to almost decompress for a few minutes, even though I'm not really decompressing from anything but my drive in.
Yeah.
But to sit there, have a cup of coffee, kind of read the news for a minute and write down my list of notes of things I need to do for the day and then start to make my way through the list. And I've learned over time too, and we've talked about this, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but
it's our podcast.
Try and focus on, the habit of trying to focus on the more creative part of our jobs in the morning.
Yeah.
Because I'm fresh, the coffee's going.
I totally concur.
I don't eat a big breakfast, so I'm not in like a food coma situation.
Yeah, agreed.
And then kind of save whatever busy work towards the latter part of the day.
Yeah. I agree.
Those are my basic, I think, habits.
Yeah. Well, what's on your list is the absolute top of my list, which is make lists.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's which boils down to organization.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Is, hey, what's on tap for today? Like, obviously we leave and you accomplish whatever you accomplish at, during any given work day or don't, right?
Right.
Not everything happens, right? And you kind of leave here knowing what might be looming for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. But I still think, hey, make the list, organize the list and whatever like that, because then the phone's ringing, emails are happening. You know what I mean? Again, it all changes, during, needs throughout the day for various reasons.
Yeah. That's a good point. A lot of times the day starts off with how you think it's going to go. And then invariably it takes sideways twists and turns and ends up being nothing like you thought it might be.
As crazy as it sounds, and it's not crazy, is organization, make list. That's probably the best habit you can have for being in an agency, because you are kind of pulled in a lot of different directions, right? And then I think for me, at least, habit-wise, I don't know if this is a habit or just more best practice, is, prioritization based on need. And as you eloquently said, I'll call it the creative clock. Right. Here's a list of 10 things I need to do today, but I also have to maximize my creative potential during when I'm most creative. Right. So whatever that creative clock is, and it's ticking, and you only got so much time during the day. Right. It's, hey, I know I need to get these 3 things done by today. I know I need to get these 6 things done by tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like and you kind of have to do that just by doing that. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but the answer is different for everybody here in the office, right?
Right.
We all have when our sizzle factor is going a little bit differently, I think. So.
Yeah. And then I think also too, and those lists too are prioritized not only by when we're the most creative, but also balancing that with deadlines and very client needs and things and when stuff has to go out the door and whatever else. And then also too, we as I'm sure most agencies do, we status with the team so that everybody knows what everybody's doing. And so we become more organized. And that seems to be a pretty efficient way to do things. What is your morning routine? I'm curious. And morning habits. What is your...
Well, I usually fly in pretty hot, as you know. Meaning like in the car, and I don't drink a sip of coffee until I'm here at the office. Which I know is weird.
In the cup, in the car.
Yep. I don't drink the coffee in the car.
Is that we're scared of spilling?
There might be part of that. There might be part of that. Also, I'm very fortunate in Atlanta. I do not have a long commute. Right. So I mean, I'm biased in that respect. Shout out to City of Atlanta property taxes.
There you go.
But no, I mean, I usually get in the office, and as you know, I head straight to the office, turn on my office light, but I don't open the building. You know, like it is still a darkened cavern in here until somebody else comes in and turns on the lights and whatnot, right? So I generally get in obviously before office hours sort of start, so I don't want to open the whole building, you know, like that type of thing. But I usually get in and it's a survey of emails because I also don't check email outside of the building for the most part, you know? So it's a survey of emails. And then I go to the list and prioritization. Sometimes I'll poke around and hit the news. You know what I mean? When I start drinking coffee. But for the most part, I like to get out the immediate needs. I like to rule out attack the low hanging fruit first.
Cross some stuff off the list. Feel good.
Feels good.
Feeling productive. Getting things done.
Yeah, and call me crazy. I will even write things down just to cross them off. You know what I mean? Because it's it's a reminder that I've done this. I got to send it later or whatever the case may be. Right. So, I mean, that's pretty much it, I guess, in terms of like daily sort of process and or habit, right? I think, agnostic of time in terms of when I get in, I think another good habit, right, for anybody in this industry, and it's all under the stay organized, umbrella, right? Because we're talking about making lists and prioritizing, things is server organization. As you know, I am the serving Nazi. I mean, I'd say the word Nazi, but like it's all about everything's got to be in the right place where it needs to be, and it needs to be named exactly what it needs to be named. Right. That way, from a habit perspective, I think that the more everybody in the organization marches in the same direction, the easier it is to find everything. And then also 4 years from now, when you need to find that one file where like, I remember that, it's exactly where it should be. So in terms of like habits, I think, having a consistent workflow and sort of operational flow in terms of server architecture in an advertising and creative industry, I think that is mission critical. That is my John Wooden tie your shoes properly. It almost doesn't matter if the output is good or bad or whatever. It needs to be named what it needs to be named, and it needs to be put where it needs to be put, so that when clients say, "Hey, do you still have that old brochure?" Got it right here. You know what I mean?
Or more often than not more often than not, but Mr. C's working on a project that's due today at 4. Well, Mr. C's out sick or something happens, and somebody's got to jump in and pick up the file and make sure that it gets where it's going, and no one needs to be hunting around for things. So again, efficiency and no, it's a good system. The system works. But I think also too, it's if you think about habits form consistency, right? And consistency just leads to better outcomes. Yeah. And I think that's true physically. If I consistently work out, I'm going to be in better shape. If I consistently run, my cardio is going to be better. Yeah. If I consistently practice pickleball, my pickleball game is going to be better.
Or guitar.
Or golf.
Yeah. What do they say? They say 21 days makes a habit. Is that?
I think that's
Where does that come from, by the way? I mean, I have no idea. It's just kind of something.
I made that up.
Whoever they are, the air quote they, 21 days makes a habit. It's in a book somewhere, probably.
But it's true mentally as well, right? Yeah. So it's true physically, but also mentally. When you're consistently doing things, it's better outcome. Yeah. Right? It just is.
I agree.
Another habit that I have too, which is this is just a personal one, but I tend to, at the end of the day, my decompression is I get home and I go, I have a dog that needs to run. Yeah. So I go throw a Frisbee, and we've mentioned this before, but that's the time where I either, if something's lingering, like a project that I need to work on, I'll think on it then.
Sure.
But I also, if there's nothing pressing creative need or whatever it is, I'll also then think about my day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I got done today. Just kind of recap, mentally figure that out. And then it's, all right, here's what I'm going after tomorrow. Yeah. Whatever that is.
Well, I think that keeps everybody efficient with time. You know? So there's nothing worse than sitting down and, hey, what am I doing? What's that? Like, like fumbling through to try to figure out what is going on. You don't want that to occur.
Right.
So it's interesting, though. I would say on my list, even though you're saying, hey, you kind of noodle around, I guess, I'm a big fan habit-wise of turning the brain off and getting away from it for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Because I do think that if you just think about a problem constantly, 12 hours to 16 hours, day after day after day, like you're just going to kind of burn yourself out.
Yeah.
So I think it is important to, even though this is a podcast about work and advertising and design,
it's important.
You got to get away from all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And recharge the batteries.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important. So I don't know if that's a habit or really more of a best practice. But I mean, I'm sure like in terms of quirks and John Wooden's shoes, for example, do we always put our this sock on first and that sock on? I don't know if that has anything to do with stellar creative, but I think maybe habits for me is kind of just more best practices in terms of how you attack, creative needs for clients, right?
Yeah, and also too, we were mentioning like superstitions, right? Because to me that kind of can fall under the category of habits.
Oh, for sure.
Think about baseball players and some of their quirky habits that they have.
Nomar Garciaparra was the ultimate in terms of I would call that OCD.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
Yeah, what his batting gloves and all the weird tick 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 tick, all the things. Yeah.
And I guess obviously that's unique to every individual, but like that just I think just compels mental focus.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? I mean, it's.
Well, I remember Jason Terry with the Hawks had to have the same pregame meal every single game.
Yeah.
Right, and it was, hey, my body knows that this is going in. My body knows I'm going to go play this. So 82 times a year, it was like, here's the exact same thing every single time. Now, I don't know to what varying degree of success, but repetition.
It's true in every sport. I mean, you think about golfers. I mean, I'm stepping up to the ball. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take 2 practice swings. Yeah. I'm going to bounce my feet twice.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit in my stance and then I'm going to kind of do the thing. And I mean, basketball, I'm at the free throw line.
Yeah.
I dribble 4 times.
Yeah.
And then I shoot, or what,
And honestly, those guys probably don't even count, or it's just a tick
habit
or a habit, where you just and then do your thing. So, do you have any interesting superstitions or little tells or ticks or anything like that?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird, oddball question. So we've been watching, HBO Max rebranded to Max or whatever, and it's got all the Discovery stuff on there. And for fun, when we've got nothing to watch as a family, we'll put on Deadliest Catch, right? The crab fishermen up in the Bering Sea, right? And dude, those guys are as superstitious as they come. They tap, 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 everybody on the boat has to tap this certain way, and they knock a certain way, and they do, and it is, and they're all very self-effacing about, hey, I'm a superstitious weirdo. I just, and I was like, man, I don't have any.
Well, boating in general, the one universal superstition, you do not bring a banana on a boat.
Yeah, I do know that. What is the history behind
I don't know. That would be interesting to look. I don't know what the history is, but you do not bring a banana on a boat.
And that's when you want to skunk the other fishermen. You hide a banana on their boat, right? Yeah. And then when they find it, they freak out and throw it overboard and whatever. Yeah. I have seen that a lot.
So. Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, and boats are always named after ladies. There's a lot of boating, nautical sort of interesting superstitions. So, but
I don't know.
But I mean, any superstitions in work? I guess. I mean, I don't really have any superstitions in work. I think I have a specific flow. Like when we get an identity project, for example, I kind of always attack it the same way, even though the projects are custom for those clients. There is a methodology in terms of sketching, typography, things like that, right? And there is a specific methodology and flow that I use the computer for in terms of doing that. I sound like a grandpa saying that out loud, but
no, I don't think so.
Well, technology doesn't create the idea. The idea still comes. It's just the tool to execute against whatever the case is, right? So, but there is a very specific, not dissimilar to the crab fishermen tapping on the railing or whatever, praying to the crab gods, there is a methodology and a consistency and an approach in terms of,
mine would be, if there's a creative project, whatever it is, we'll pick on ads for a second. I go grab a stack of paper. The environmentalists out there are going to hate me.
It's recycled paper on the backside.
It's recycled paper, backside, whatever. Yeah. But I take, it's to your point, I get the computer out of the way and go straight pencil to paper.
Yeah.
And draw, as you've seen them, horrible stick figures.
I love them. I love the stick figures.
And write all my headlines out in pencil. Like I have to do it that way. I don't go to the computer and...
Even though we can type faster than we can write, you prefer to write everything out. Mm-hmm. Do you ever find yourself caught?
And I think that's because it
does force you to slow down.
It's more difficult. It forces you to slow down, and it forces you to be more purposeful in the sentence that you are writing. If it's a headline, let's say.
Yeah.
I can type out the same headline written 10 different ways.
Yeah.
Much quicker than I can write it out with a pencil.
Sure.
But I'd rather write it out with the pencil because I'm probably going to get to a better place almost faster by doing it that way. Because the time is spent in my head. It's not spent typing.
Yeah. Do you find that in the middle of executing, in the middle of writing, whatever, there's another idea that's backlogged waiting to come out?
100%.
Yeah. Because I feel the same way. Where you're like, I'm working on one thing. And it's like,
but wait a minute. I gotta go to this next. I gotta go to this next.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Why is that? That's so bizarre, right?
Because I think the way that the brain works, and I think it's a combination of even down to serotonin in your brain, that once you
it's like unclogging.
It's momentum. And once you have an idea that you like, good, bad, or you just happen to like it, once you get that, there's this sort of, okay, great. Then you're on a roll.
Yeah.
The snowball's going.
Yeah, totally.
And then you're going, but wait, what if we did this? What if we did that? What if we did this? What if we did that?
Yeah. I love that. So it's even the same for writers as it is for illustrators. I love that.
You just get it. Yeah. You start going. I mean, and that's the whole thing we always joke about the hardest, and we tell our clients this all the time. The hardest thing to do is start.
Yeah.
So the staring at a blank page or a blank computer screen is a tough spot to be in.
For sure.
And again, as far as habits go, the best way to overcome that is the habit of just starting going.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you'll lock into the lane, right? And where you need to be, and you go, okay, there's an idea, and then ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, it's like, how you turn your water off in your house for various need. I got a new water heater or whatever, and then everything's back. You turn on the faucet and it's like coughing.
Right.
And then all the water is coming in. But you got that weird, horrible noise at the beginning. Like bad things are happening. That's sometimes what I feel like the creative process is, where it's like, it's just coughing and sputtering, backfiring like an old 60s car, and then it's like, it's happening.
It's working.
Yeah. And then it's like just idea. And then you come back to it and you're like, okay, these ones are good. These ones are, you know what I mean? But you got to start the process. You got to start that coughing out ideas.
And it's also the notion of, and we've talked about this before too, but it's getting in the overall creative habit of being creative at certain times, right?
Yes.
We have to, and you only learn that by doing it.
Yeah.
And creating that habit of I'm going to be creative from 9 till 12.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yep.
Any
bad
other
habits? Do you have bad habits?
Ooh, I hadn't even thought about that. I'm not like, I don't have like stereotypical chewing on nails and weird, you know what I mean? Like those kind of what people would associate as bad habits. I mean, personally, I would say my worst bad habit, my kids and wife will probably fact check me on this one, is late night snacking. I am in love with
Ben & Jerry's?
I would say a 9:30 to 9:45 crunch factor. Right. So I'll rock some Ben & Jerry's. I mean, I'll have some nice creamy, but I like
like a chip.
I love chips and some type of
like a Pringle.
Yeah.
Little can of Pringles.
Give me I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a chip, if it's a Cheeto, if it's a peanut. If it's, I want something crunchy. I don't know why, but I prefer a crunchy something or another, late night. And then, which is horrible. That's a terrible, that is, I would consider that's a bad habit. That has nothing to do with work, of course, and hey, we try to be good about that, but every once in a while you got to break it.
Yeah.
So, any initial bad habits on your side?
I got a slice in my golf game. It's a pretty bad habit.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll take it. Yeah.
I'm sure I have other bad habits.
Yeah. Well, hey, nobody's perfect, right? So, late night crunching. So, I guess, call them bad habits, call them habits, call them good habits, call it, what you wanted. It's really kind of operational efficiency and organization. You know what I mean? Is what will really help develop, better habits, better creative products, better, timing, all that good stuff. It's get away from it, but be efficient with it while you have it. Right. So, which is interesting.
And we are, as an agency, I would say, in the habit of delivering great work.
Dun dun dun. Oh, there's probably a button for that.
And time again.
Over and over and over again.
Over again.
Hey, we're fortunate that once clients start working with us, they love working with us, and we keep clients around for a long time, which is great.
Right.
So, which always just improves the relationship.
That's right.
All right. Well, hey, that's 26 solid minutes of habits, which is interesting. Starting with tying your shoes and ending with late night snacking. Right.
Another habit I have is to go check us out online.
Oh, really?
That's right. That's you know where I do that, Don?
Where can they find us?
Well,
Rob?
I do that at mocktheagency.com, of course. I'm also in the habit of going on social media and finding us there at Mock the Agency.
We've created a monster.
So, drop us a note. What are your habits? Good, bad, positive, negative, whatever.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Let us know. And happy 100th podcast, everybody. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and we'll see you on the other side of the century.
101, baby.
Bye.
All right, thanks.